Am I the asshole for exposing my parents' favoritism? My parents have always favored my younger brother. I was by no means in love, but it was blatantly obvious who they cared about more. I worked a part-time job to get my first car, but my brother got one as a present. It wasn't new, but much newer than my car. It was the same with everything else, like clothes, video games, and cell phones. I'm 18 and taking a gap year before community college to work a full-time job and save money for tuition. But a while back, I heard my parents talking about how much they were going to pay for my brother's tuition. I secretly recorded the conversation, then came out asking my parents why they were going to pay for my brother's college but not mine. They didn't notice I was recording and said that my brother needs more help. I asked how. Am I the asshole for exposing my parents' favoritism? I asked my parents why they were going to pay for my brother's college but not mine. They didn't notice I was recording and just said that my brother needs more help. I asked how when I wasn't getting any sort of scholarship and he likely wouldn't either. Then I asked about why things have always been this way. My father told me perhaps it's time I moved out because they're sick of keeping a roof over my head. I mentioned I pay rent, but they didn't care. In a fit of rage, I uploaded the video to 2 different social medias. Hours later, my dad screamed at me about how I made them look bad. My grandparents were appalled and came to visit the next day. They told my parents off and mentioned that they've been sending them money to help with family expenses for years. My brother sided with the family and my parents gave me an apology that sounded forced. Am I the asshole for refusing to go by a nickname at school to make someone else feel more comfortable? A guy, 15 male, at my 14 female school transitioned from female to male and goes by a different name now. Last year, he went by a female name. I have a pretty common name, and my name is the same as what his dead name was. He constantly complains and makes exaggerated cringing noises when people say my name in front of him. He asked me if I could go by a common nickname that people with my name use while in class. Think along the lines of shortening Isabella to Bella. I said no way, this is the name I've been called my entire life and I'm not changing it. I also think nicknames are juvenile. He said you can really sniff out the hidden bigots when they refuse to do something simple to make your existence more comfortable and safe.
I just made a lady get in a fight with her boyfriend. Story time. Ooh, I know y'all missed that. So I was just here chilling in my car like so, and my break was about to be over, so I walked out of my car. And at the time, this car was not here. Anyways, as I was doing that, this lady pushed her shopping cart into the empty parking lot. And apparently, me opening the door to get out of my car scared her. And she literally yelled at me. She yelled at me. For what? For what? She really said, "You gave me a fucking heart attack. You don't sneak up on people like that." Then she literally just started going on and on and on about how you don't scare people. And right before she walked away, she really said, "You're lucky. I could have hit you." Like, bitch, I wish you fucking would. I didn't even say anything. I was just shocked at the fact that I was literally getting yelled at for walking out of my car. Like, please, bitch, I wish you would have hit me. I could have sued you for that motherfucking Mercedes that you were driving. Missed opportunities. Anyways, right when she walked away, the cart started rolling towards her car. And literally right before it hit her car, I grabbed the cart because I'm nice. Hear that, karma? Anyway, she looked at me with disgust and she was like, "You didn't have to do that. I would have grabbed the cart." I walked away and I heard her boyfriend go off on her for being rude. There was a fire at my job. Story time. So there I was, just working, trying to get that coin. And 15 minutes before I get out of work, there was a fire. The janitor comes up to me and he's like, "We gotta evacuate." Not gonna lie, at first I thought he was joking. I literally laughed at him and went back to typing. And then I saw the police get there and I was like, oh, he's serious. So I grabbed my things and I left the building as I should, obviously. I'm not trying to die, you know? I'm too cute for that. So then I get outside and I'm talking to one of the doctors because, you know, I work at a clinic. And then I realized I left my lunchbox and I just got super depressed because I was like, food over everything. And I was ready to risk it all. I was ready to risk it all for that food. I actually did try to go back in, but then the security guard was like, "You can't go back in. Turn around." But you know that saying, no man left behind? Well, in my case, it's no food left behind. So I waited in the cold for about 30 minutes because it was the weekend and I wouldn't have been able to get it until Monday. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not trying to clean out a nasty smelling lunchbox. No, thank you. Also, tell me why fires keep following me. It's literally December. Why is there fires? Who has a hex on me?
I moved to Los Angeles for a marketing internship for a big company. We're a prestigious company, and one day I saw a girl in my office dressed like trash. We, interns, have to dress business casual. I rent my clothes to look the part. I believe in dress for the job you want. I see this girl with a t-shirt and ripped jeans in the office one day. I made the joke that someone didn't get the memo on how to dress in the office. Whenever I saw the girl in the office, she wasn't made up or anything. Just plain tees, jeans, and old shoes. No makeup. She never showed up much and me and my friends would gossip about her. I was eyeing one of the boys in sound production and I saw him talking to this girl. He sat with us for lunch. My friend and I made a joke about who let the homeless in. This guy lost his shit. He said, "You don't know who that is? I can't believe you're talking shit about her. You're gonna get us all fired." I laughed and said, "Daddy's money could buy an internship but not the class?" He lost his shit and yelled at us. Well, it turns out this girl is a famous sound engineer. She's worked with Lil Nas X, Diplo, and deadmau5. She's also the sound director for several large gaming franchises. So yes, I effed up. But how was I supposed to know that? She never talks to anyone or anything. So she's stuck up and rude. I'm from the South where women put better appearance in their looks and efforts. My boss called me in and now I'm on probation. He said I'm lucky that I'm not fired. He said if word got out, I would probably never work in the industry again. I think everyone is overreacting. I'm 22 and have my whole life in front of me. I believe everyone should have to follow the dress code when in the office, even for a little bit. Am I the asshole for thinking everyone should dress nice for their jobs? Storytime about the time I invited a Tinder date over to my house and accidentally met his mother. Like many other unfortunate souls, my non-existent dating life has me turning to the dating apps. This particular one is from Tinder. I'd been chatting with this guy for a few days and everything was going swimmingly. We had so much in common and we were looking for the same things. His pictures were cute and he didn't live too far away. All seemed well. I invited him over to grill out some burgers in my backyard. He asked if he could bring anything and I said sure, bring some bacon for the burgers. He agreed and said he'd be over soon. Given his distance, I expected him to be over in 15 minutes. I started to grill and season the burgers. Half an hour later, he messaged me and said, I've driven by a couple times and chickened out. Are you sure you want me to come over? Maybe a red flag, but I chalked it up to nerves and just said, come on, I'm hungry. So this haggard looking guy shows up, much different than his Cedric picture. That's alright, I can move past that. From the moment he walked up, I kid you not, he did not take a breath. Within the first 5 minutes, I knew his life story from his aunt who hated their grandma to his father who likes to collect taxidermy. Not a single breath. Again, I figured he was just nervous. I put the burgers on and when they're ready, he pulls out a Ziploc bag from his pocket with 2 pieces of bacon in it. He puts them on only his burger. Okay. We sit down at the patio table and start eating. I finished my burger before he even started his. He did not stop talking the entire time. When we sit down, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a vial. He must have noticed me staring at it, flipping between if he was about to snort something strange or build some sand art. He said, oh, all super casual. I'd like to introduce you to my mother. I just stared at him for what felt like an eternity. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run. He said, I like to bring her to any important event in my life. She also has ashes in this necklace I'm wearing, and this ring I have on, and this half-sleeve tattoo is for her. Now, mind you, I've lost too many people close to me, and I do not judge people based on their grief cycles. We all cope differently, and I respect that. But homeboy brought a vial of his mother's ashes and set them on the table for our first date. I simply could not. He finally finished his burger, and I made some excuse about having to clock in and finish some work at 9:30 p.m. He texted me before he even got to his car and told me, my mother really liked you. I can't wait to see you again. I told him that I didn't feel a connection to him or his mother.
Story time about how I ghosted my boyfriend of 5 years. I know that sounds so bad, but he was a thief, a liar, and a cheater. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. Like I said, my boyfriend and I have been together for 5 years. We met in college and were basically inseparable for the first 2 years. On our 3rd year of dating, I started working as a personal assistant for a big celebrity in LA. This meant I had to move to LA. You see, we lived in Texas at the time. Well, things got really bad after I moved. He wouldn't take my phone calls, he would totally ignore my text messages, and he would go out all the time. For the first few months, I tried to keep the peace so I wouldn't say anything, but eventually it got to the point where we wouldn't speak for an entire week. Luckily, my best friend still lived in Texas, so I had her follow him around for 2 days. And you'll never guess what she found. Shout out to my bestie. She showed up to his apartment early in the morning and waited for him to go to work, which he did. When he was done with work, she went back to his job to follow him back home. This is when she told me that he actually went to some girl's house. He didn't end up going home at all that day. This man actually spent the night at some girl's house. The whole time I was trying to call him and text him and he did not take my phone calls. My best friend even took pictures of his car in this girl's driveway. Since I had this girl's address, I looked her up on the internet. I even found out her phone number because I paid some service online. And of course, I found her Instagram account. She had been posting on her story about hanging out with some guy. But the thing is, she didn't show the guy's face. She only showed his hand. Guess what? I recognized his hand in the picture because it has a tattoo on his pinky. So of course, I took screenshots. Later that day, my best friend followed him to a bar. At this bar, he met up with another girl. Unfortunately, I didn't have any information about this girl. I just knew that she drove a green car. My best friend followed him again the following day. He went to the beach, ran some errands, and then met up with another girl. Yes, we have 3 girls in 2 days. This girl was different because this girl was a friend of mine when I lived in Texas. And I knew she always had a crush on him, but she could never admit it. They went out to dinner and then back to her place. And again, my best friend sent me pictures of everything, so I had all the receipts. Side note, I think of my best friend spying on him and it makes me laugh. I hope you can all say you have best friends that are like that. So here's what I did. I got on the first flight back to Texas and did not tell my boyfriend that I was showing up at his apartment the following day. But guess what I find in his bed? Part 2 is up. Story time about how I ghosted my boyfriend of 5 years. I show up to my boyfriend's apartment to catch him in the act and you'll never guess what I found in his bed. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was sent to me on Instagram. My lying, cheating boyfriend had given me a key to his apartment. So I unlock the apartment and make my way towards his bedroom, really quietly. When I walk into his bedroom, I find him curled up in his bed with another girl. He's holding her in his arms, totally fast asleep. The worst part is, I recognize the girl that was with him. It was one of the girls who I used to be friends with in Texas. I walked backwards and closed the door behind me. That's when I just started to cry. I couldn't believe that he had done this to me. While I was working my butt off in LA trying to make a future for us, he was in Texas dating 3 women at once.
No wonder he never picked up my phone calls or even texted me back. So here's what I did. I had printed out all the receipts I had, all the pictures of him hanging out with other girls that my best friend took while she was spying on him. I laid out all the pictures on his kitchen counter, and I left him a letter too. I told him in the letter that I could never forgive him and for him to never contact me again. Oh yeah, and that I wanted him to pay me back the $3,000 he owed me. You see, when we first started dating, he needed a loan for his car. I helped him out and gave him $3,000, which he promised to pay me. Obviously, we dated for 5 years and I never saw any of that money. So aside from him being a cheater and a liar, he was a thief. I left the note and the cards and left his apartment. I went to my parents' house and stayed with him for the weekend. Of course, my ex, showed up to my parents' house and begged to talk to me. My father told him to leave me alone and to never speak to me again. My dad told him that when he was ready to pay him the money. That made me laugh. I was totally crushed. I blocked him on everything, even through email. Of course, he got on someone else's phone and tried to contact me that way, but I never replied. He sends me emails every now and then and promises to pay me the money back. A few days ago, he sent me a picture of an engagement ring. He keeps telling me that I'm the best thing that he's ever had, that he's sorry and blah, blah, blah. I kind of want to reply to him, but I know that that's a bad idea, right? Or should I just talk to him and see what he has to say? What do you guys think?
When I woke up this morning, I immediately went to grab my phone, and then I thought, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do literally anything but grab your phone first thing in the morning. So I went to sleep for 3 more hours, and then I picked up my phone.